I'm not sure if they're going to reach for it this time around. And if you're the cut, aside from sort of the Rise's comfort heroes, you maybe would have wanted to ban out some offlaners just to sort of test the waters, assuming that this is going to be an alone puck. But again, they're very flexible right now on both sides. This could be a mid tiny, this could be an offlane viper, this could be a mid viper, this could be an offlane tiny, it could be a 4 tiny. So up until we get a few more heroes, they're probably going to hide both of their drafts right now by picking up Kara and Pingu's hero. But after that, something's got to be set in stone.
And as you mentioned, picking up Kara's hero, that is very much looking like the case with that Treant Protector selection. That's honestly an interesting one, a hero that has kind of slowly snuck its way back into the meta. I feel like for the longest time, the Treant really didn't get much consideration from anybody. And now we are starting to see a couple more teams pick it up, maybe doing some experimenting. Nothing too serious, wouldn't call it anything close to a tier 1 pick at this stage, but the Treant is slowly but surely sort of making his way back into a somewhat favorable position as EgoBoys will pick it up here.
Well, and it still has sort of those few games where you are just getting hit by a hero that does 90 damage, and it's the small number changes, giving the ultimate damage again, having Leech Seed. I think its numbers are just a little bit too high where you get Leech Seed, you're able to win a lot of these trades. And I like the clock. That's probably going to be our Pingu hero again, and they're just slamming the Medusa. Okay.
Okay. Medusa coming out there. Well, I think you've got a lineup that sort of plays into it well in terms of keeping opposing heroes locked down. The tree with the overgrowth, you'll have the puck in there with the dream coil, so there's a couple of situations that could play out for EgoBoys where you just can lock people down and the Medusa can just try and go ham, see how much damage she can really dish out during the duration of that lockdown.
And it was in the cut series where we saw the Medusa picked, and immediately Undying banned out those heroes. They banned out the heroes that would have give that snake a little bit more control. And if you get any number of bounces once you get the Ags on Medusa, it feels scary. It feels like something that you have to be incredibly scared of. But now the cut, I'm sure they would have loved Medusa themselves, but SMB's got to have something up his back pocket. And yeah, Ursa, good hero, plain and simple.
Just gonna work out pretty damn well for them. High damage, a little bit of mobility, and honestly a pretty durable pick for them as well. So really, you said, not too much there in terms of weaknesses. As we move into the final phase of the bans, the cut at this point, almost certainly going to start looking towards that offlane position. We've already seen a couple of those options taken away, but they do start us off with the Razor ban.
It's a good ban. It's something that's going to be pretty annoying, and they're actually calling that this is going to be... They still need Tingle King's hero, so they're saying that Wage is going to be the Viper and it's going to be a support Tiny? Maybe, but it feels a little bit weird banning out the Darkseer.
Yeah, that would be... What, the Wage Viper mid, Tiny to the 4, Clockwork to the 5. That part, the 4-5 Tiny Clockwork is really not that big of a deal, but the Viper, I don't know. They're taking a bit of a risk with that assumption, although we could see them split the bans here. In that final phase. That is always sort of the bailout play for EgoBoys. Just sort of split those between the final two positions just in case your opponents are thinking something. Although, in that regard, sure, maybe you don't get caught out quite as much if there is some sort of positional shift, but it makes you a little bit less adept in terms of truly limiting the options for that final selection. So, here's hoping EgoBoys don't come to regret that choice, but we do have one last ban coming in for them. Will it be another offlane hero?
Well, and having last pick, EgoBoys will be able to clear the board. They will be able to get a position, hopefully, in every single lane they want. But I can't imagine that you wouldn't want Tiny versus Puck mid. And then, of course, Viper is going to do whatever versus Treant Protector Medusa. But I can't imagine anything like that would be too annoying. But we'll have to see. The cuts pick is really going to sort of settle everything, stop all these things from being up in the air. But the Ursa is a very, very good pick. It's very solid. And similar to the previous series when Ursa was picked, there are just so many heroes it can feed on. And okay, it's going to be everything's moved around. That's a Pingu Warlock. It's going to be mid-tiny, 4 o'clock, 3 Viper. Interesting.
So it was worth noting there for EgoBoys. Mentioned earlier, they could just sort of split the bans, try and go 2 different directions. They go for the Darkseer first, the Kunkka second. Turns out, both of those assumptions were incorrect. So you can't have a 100% hit rate, unfortunately. The Warlock will come through for the Cup, and now EgoBoys with a chance to go in for the final pick, and they do select the Mars for themselves.
Okay. And I mean, Mars, it's very similar to the heroes that Drakeel was playing. It's very, very in their comfort zone. It's a similar hero to Pango, except it is able to provide a lot more physical damage. Pango is really bad at soul killing heroes, whereas Mars, you're able to put a lot more pressure on, especially some of these safe laners. And if Queen Tekka is able to manage his level 6 before SMD, then SMD does need to be a little bit careful on that Ursa. But at the same time, Pingu, he is the counter initiation. He's got the most important spell in the game, and if he can break up the combo that's going to happen to his cores, then the cut can definitely survive through a lot of the barrage. And again, it's going to be a little bit scary because now, not similar to what a lot of their drafts try to accomplish, Alone is sort of countered. He's definitely under threat for a lot of these heroes, and if the cut are able to get their spells on him, the puck is dying. There's no way for the puck to really get you really get saved, I guess. You will be able to get cookied, maybe, but there's no situation in which I don't think this puck is going to die if Wage is able to have a good enough game on this Tiny. But still, I think this is the most 50-50 draft I think we've seen so far today.
Saw the odds up there for just a moment. Looks like EgoBoys coming into the matchup were slightly favored. Those odds might be slightly skewed based on the draft itself, but as you said, this one looks quite a bit closer than anything we'd sort of been seeing before, so we'll see how it plays out. Game 2, though, getting underway. EgoBoys looking for that first win of the group stage. Let's see if they can get it done here going up against the cut, as we see quite a few heroes already pushing their way down towards that bottom lane.
And they're not smoking up. Maybe they decide, I'm looking for smokes on any of their heroes. Doesn't look like they have one this time around, but instead they're just going to try and defend their high ground. They don't want to let anybody on their side of the map. Or at the same time, Tingle King, he's got boots first. He just wants to outflick and sort of outmaneuver Kara because, as you see, Kara also has boots. It's just, if you can't hit people with Treant Protector, you're not going to have a good time. So maybe even Giant skill up Rocket Flare just to get those range creeps, as we already see Nether Toxin skilled up on Tingle. But this bot lane, there's definitely going to be some sparks flying. Maybe not Rises going down in any situation, but Kara does definitely need to be careful with the way that the cut have set themselves up.
And I do wonder there was a moment, Alone pushed forward, he dropped down the ward, but he may have done so in a position where the cut might have actually been able to see it. So we'll see when the lane gets started if they don't drop down some sort of early sentry to try and take that one away. Meanwhile, over to the west, Queen Tekka and Tano pushing their way a little bit further forward. Scourge, though, gonna look to turn around with the Earth Shock, but I don't think either side really want to fight right now. They're looking for the runes, and Alone actually snagged it.
They might just have to TP in 5.
Will they continue to chase? If they do, yeah, he might just have to pop that scroll. Although, well, I don't know. How long is he really gonna... There we go. Feel comfortable being out of the lane is what I was going to say, and the answer is not very long. He'll TP himself back, and... well, as nifty as that move was to steal that bounty rune, it still ended up being a 2-2 split between the two squads. So, it is a nice move from Alone, but it's not quite going to have the impact that he may have originally anticipated.
And it's going to be a farm fest. There's not much that Alone can do to stop Wage from farming. And again, we see Wage just pushing aggressively into Alone. He's not going to get his level 2 because Alone was able to get that deny, which is a little unfortunate. Getting avalanched underneath your tower whenever you're getting hit by a few creeps is one of the few ways that Tiny sort of edges out in these lanes. But
oh my
instead,
goodness. Tingle? He's dead. Kara, okay. I mean, he was making some plays back in game number 1, despite the fact that his team wasn't able to pull out the match, and he comes right back in here at the start of game 2, finds himself maybe not an entirely solo kill, the Medusa helps him out, but Kara does a lot of the heavy lifting there, and that's first blood on the board for EgoBoys.
And it's really unfortunate because Tingle King, he's itemized for this. He's itemized to sort of get a little bit more in these lanes where you need to be so careful because Kara's level 2. He has the Leech Seed. It is a lot of magic damage.
Oh boy, Kara. Falling back there, popping the salve, so he's going to be okay, but that's exactly as you said. He hits level 2. Sure, he got in a little bit of trouble there, but he's not backing down from that fight. This is a position 5 Treant all of 2 minutes in, and he's willing to go toe-to-toe with both Tingle and the Clockwork. That's just pretty impressive to this point in the game.
And we will see, it is sort of a battle of who can push in the waves more, where Tingle King doesn't really want to skill or use too much of his mana on his poison attacks until it gets a little bit better damage-wise, but to that point, Rises will have to force to really use his Mystic Snake to get last hits, and then it does get a little bit annoying. But Kara.
Kara, just talking you up, my dude. You gotta avoid this, but there's no way out. He's trapped up inside the cogs. Giant able to come in there with the cog trap into the battery assault, and Tingle, well, coming in for a little bit of damage. It is the Clockwork who gets the kill, but that is going to be a nice bit of revenge for the cut. So, we were talking up Kara. He gets a little bit too far forward there, and he will be made to pay for it. So, a bit unfortunate for him as the cut get their first kill of the match.
And it's those little punishments that they really need to find here and there. And stopping this pull is paramount for the cut. They need to keep the wave as close to Tingle King's tower as possible, and that's where they will be able to force Rises to either give up on the wave entirely or be forced to, again, give XP to Tingle King pretty much for free. And there's not much that they can do aside from that really early kill onto Tingle King. He really should be able to play pretty safe here unless Giant leaves him out to dry.
Yeah, meanwhile, checking back mid. I mentioned earlier on, this is probably going to be a bit of a farm fest. So far, it is living up to those expectations. 15-5 for Alone, 15-1 for the Tiny, though. So, as you said, they're just going to be focusing on the last hits here. There's really not a whole lot in terms of immediate kill potential unless someone steps out of position, but it is going to be interesting to see which of these two sort of makes the move first in terms of maybe rotating themselves. They're starting to get closer and closer to the sort of level 6 mark, at least for Alone. Not really sure if that mark... Not sure if it matters for the Tiny, as Giant taken down in the bottom lane. Kara striking again.
And it's just the slight mispositioning, and it's the level 2 and leech seed. All of these players know their timings, they know their strength so well that as soon as you get a little bit buff, it's just level 2 leech seeded, and that's all it takes to find the kill onto Giant. And Giant is tanking a lot of the damage, a lot of the harassment, and a lot of these deaths for Tingle King to get levels, and it will mean that Tingle King is going to sort of become this monster Viper where Rises maybe doesn't want to show up to his lane as much as he otherwise would, but we'll have to see, as it's up to EgoBoys at that point to make the rotation to the jungle as easy as possible.
Top lane, Scourge getting jumped in on. Tano actually uses the cookie to push Queen Tekka into the fight. That sets them up for the rebuke into the spear, but at that point they've used pretty much all that they had. Pingu comes in with the Shadow Word, level 2, so Scourge is going to be able to recover, maybe not all of that health, but enough of it to keep himself safe. But Queen Tekka going in again. Spear connects for a second time into the rebuke, into... oh, nice. Goodness. Into the Scatter Blast and the right click. Tano's able to get the kill. Scourge taken down, and there's not much Pingu can do there. He was able to bail his teammate out the first time, but a little bit overconfident from the Ursa, and he will be finished off. Good kill for EgoBoys. Meanwhile, what is going on down bot here? Kara...
again. Well,
gonna get
it's
himself
just a trade.
Out.
Trades of life and mana. The cores are pretty happy. If anything, it's unfortunate SMD just didn't get his raindrop a little bit earlier. We saw Tomato, he was in a very similar position, but Wage got a solo kill.
Alone just wasn't paying attention. I mean, geez, I wasn't either. Didn't think Wage was going to be able to pull it off, but the Tiny gets in there. The avalanche toss into the tree throw, and it's going to be enough.
It was the ward right here. Wage must have completely just ran at him as soon as he saw him orbing over to the small camp and caught him completely off guard. He was trying to farm, I think that's a small camp stack on Alone, just trying to be efficient, but yeah, just gets kind of picked off for it. And I mean, Wage, the killer instinct, that's a really nice pick for him.
On the exact moment to push in. Speaking of which, Kara looking for Tingle King here in the bottom lane, not quite able to get the job done though. Giant coming in clutch there with the battery assault and the cog trap, and now it's Kara who will be taken down. So it was good initially. He was trying to push his way in, doesn't quite have the damage for the kill. Rises though, yeah, he throws out the Mystic Snake, but that, yeah.
He was trying to disable the salve and the clarity, but doesn't even get that.
Nice play from Tingle, and actually they're looking to go in again. Rises too far forward, gonna get hit up by the urn. One stack of the poison attack on him. Giant though, he needed that trap. It's the pushback instead, but they may still actually get this. Rises has no mana left for the shield, and he is dropping pretty low as the Nevatoxin will be deployed. Tingle King gets the kill. Tano though, TPing in, looking for a bit of revenge. Can he get the cookie stun for the kill? He doesn't actually need it. Okay, wow. Tingle King realizing I laid out everything I had for that kill, and I am okay with that.
But... and it's a nice play from the Medusa. I'm not sure if he missed necessarily on purpose, but shooting the snake and then immediately turning around to get pushed back might have been a more intentional from the Medusa than initially thought, but causing both those heroes to die, it's definitely unfortunate for the cut. It definitely would have felt a lot cleaner if the cogs did land.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, at the end of the day, you get your kill, but the execution level could stand to just take a tiny step forward here, but Well, so far, things are looking pretty good, honestly, for both sides. 5-5 in terms of the kill count, net worth-wise. We're not really separated by all that much, so no one's been able to really definitively pull away across the first couple of minutes here, which maybe isn't all that surprising, but it's always nice to see both sides at least taking their opportunities to be active. Neither side has pulled away, but they've both been sort of getting their hits in through the first 8 minutes or so.
Yeah, the biggest disparity in the game is definitely between Queen Tekka and the Ursa. It's a small disparity, but Queen Tekka has really been able to get the wave always in his ballpark now. Alone is looking for something.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive move on his part, and I don't think he realizes there's about 3 or 4 heroes coming in onto him. Dream Coil, though, will be deployed, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Alone already taken down Tano. I mean, he tried, but there's only so much he's going to be able to do there. Snapfire just trying to bail himself out. Can Giant catch up to him, though? He's running out of time, so he's not going to be able to make that jump just yet, but still chasing for a few extra seconds. But at that point, Tano's too far away, so just the 1 kill for the cup, but it's really the best kill they probably could have gotten there. Alone goes too far forward and unfortunately lives up to his name. He is alone in that fight, and he does get taken down.
Well, and he did get he got a full wave, and he got a little bit of farm, but he was really making the rotation a little bit sooner than his teammates could help. Tano was level 6. He's been sapping a lot of this XP with Ryze's mid, but not able to play with his strongest teammate. I mean, he probably thought that Queen Tekka would have been able to help him out a little bit more, but he's just barely popping his 6 now, which isn't bad by any means, but still, it's a weird feed. Scourge.
That's a little too much there, but he's going to be able to fall back. Pingu hits him up with a heal, and now they'll turn this around. They got the Fatal Bonds down onto 2, but here comes the Mortimer Kisses. In for the damage. Scourge, I don't really know if you want to be here anymore, but he may not have much of a choice. Those Mortimer Kisses are going to hit, but it's not enough for the kill. Oh, Jesus. Scourge living life on the edge there. And now Wage looking for the kill. Nice toss into the tree toss as well. Queen Tekka did not see it coming. He will be taken down now alone. What? That might have been tip worthy. Yeah.
Someone say payment received. What a strange turn of events. He had 0 vision. He was trying to kill the Ursa, but the Scourge, he just felt completely comfortable. He was already getting healed up from the Warlock, and there are just some really weird plays going on with this puck.
At the end of the day, we have the advantage, right? We're the observers. We can see the whole map. We know Scourge is getting healed up. Sure, the puck doesn't know that, but you got to assume if Scourge goes off into the corner with the Warlock, there's really only one thing that could be happening in that corner. So it's kind of ill-advised for the puck. As you mentioned, that's one of really 2 or 3 mistakes already that we've seen from the puck. So Alone gonna have to step it up. We mentioned this back in game 1. EgoBoys is very much a squad that relies on him sometimes to too much of an extent, and he's 0-3 right now. He really does need to try and get himself on the right track here, especially considering they're still trying to buy time for Ryzes to farm in this Medusa.
Well, and he's TP top 3 times and just wasn't able to really make anything of the game. So now we're going to see the cut really sync up. They want to play strong, and they want to play together, and to some degree they do need to break it up. They can't let this Medusa get away with anything for too long, but you want to be playing aggressive on EgoBoys. You pretty much have all of your ultimates as soon as kisses are up, and Kara is doing his job. He is cutting the wave. He's being very obnoxious, but oh, Giant doesn't have a point in Rocket Flare. That's interesting. He might scale up now.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Did he
find Kara?
He gets a glimpse of him, excuse me, hook shotting his way forward, and there's going to be the cog trap. Here comes Wage, lumbering his way over, and Kara at this point, he's not getting out of that one. Giant will find the kill at the tier 1 tower, meanwhile, was taken as well. Throwing the tips over on Giant there, but, I mean, that's a pretty solid play. I think that's the first hook shot we've seen so far in this match. It's maybe not the highest value in terms of the targets, but you get that kill for very minimal effort on his part. So, well done from Giant trying to make those plays.
Well, and what we'll need to see now is Queen Tekka going for the Blink Dagger first. Once he gets that, then it will be a little bit scary, because at the same time, you check the net worth out, and Tiny has not been farming. He's been rotating just as much, if not more, than Alone. And while Alone has been dying, Alone has also been hitting creeps. Wade has been playing a lot slower of a game. He's been giving his allies a lot more space to sort of find the farm. That's why Tingle King is almost to his Atos at this point. He's still got a ways to go, but still, it's pretty obvious what's going on mid. I don't think EgoBoys are really surprised to see 3 heroes stacked up there.
Yeah, that is not nearly as sneaky as the cut thinks that it is, so they're going to be backing themselves away, but This does give them a foothold in this south side jungle, but, well, foothold gone. Tingle King gonna get taken down. Kara able to find the kill, but Giant coming in with the hook. That's not quite enough. Alone able to survive, getting healed up by the bottle as well as living armor, and now Giant is actually the one in trouble. He goes too far forward looking for that kill, and he will be made to pay for it. Double kill for Kara. Okay. Maybe not the hero that you wanted those kills on, but if you're EgoBoys, you'll take it. 2 kills, and Alone able to survive that fight.
Well, you don't hate to see it. Your Mars didn't have to show up for any of that. He has his Blink Dagger now if they want to make some sort of aggressive play, and anytime a play fails like that, Rises is going to be hitting creeps. Rises is going to be getting space, and you have to be sort of worried about that because you have a nature or a tree protector in this game. Every unsuccessful push, you're going to struggle to find these buildings, and aside from the tiny, your push is not great. Ursa's not a very good hero at hitting towers. You need a lot of farm, you need a lot of dead heroes to find those opportunities far and in between, and if EgoBoys can sort of shrug off these rotations, then it is going to start to seem like the game's in a much worse spot for the cut than it really is.
Yeah, especially looking at Scourge right now. He's working his way towards the defusal, but not quite there yet. Should have it really by the time he's done with this camp, but an early defusal is good. It's not exactly sort of single-handedly win a fight sort of good there, especially with Rises closing in on his Manta on the other side. So, as you said, for the cut, this might start getting a little bit more rough for them, pushing into some of these fights.
And Rises, we'll see, probably going to queue up the Ags after the Manta style, but he could go a slew of items this game and really not have any issue, but it's these 3 scary heroes. Kara's just going to keep being Kara, healing up towers, pushing in the spot lane. He's really getting a lot of farm to him that is sort of getting shoved into Scourge's face, but it's these 3 active heroes that need to maybe make something of the map themselves because the gold lead is in their favor just because they do have more heroes hitting creeps, but at the same time, Wage finally has his Blink Dagger. We'll finally be able to see this Tiny make some sort of aggressive play, but meanwhile, it's those sort of combination of 4 heroes on the side of the cut and the 3 heroes on the side of EgoBoys making these big rotations.
All right, Scourge going to TP himself mid. They're looking for it. 3-man smoke pushing their way into the river. What do they find here? If they don't find a target, could they try to sneak Roche, or is this going to be more about the fight than any sort of objective?
He'd love to toss the Medusa onto the Ursa, but Alone?
Oh, Wage goes in. Alone is not dead just yet. One more hit, though, could finish him off, but he is going to be able to jump away to the orb. Alone, don't stop. Got to keep going. Turning around, dropping down the Dream Coil. Meanwhile, Kara comes in, throwing out that Overgrowth as well, but it's not overly effective. The cut able to sort of fall back and regroup here, so that is a couple of major ults being thrown down. I believe Rises, yes, he did. He threw out the Stone Gaze, too, so they're down 3 of those major teamfight ults, and sure, they get Alone out of the fight, but not much more coming from that play.
And it looks like they will decide to go Roche. It's not a bad decision at all because, like we keep saying, the mid tower, the towers are so difficult for them to hit. And if anything, this will give Scourge sort of the free pass to go in, do whatever he wants in these fights. And I don't think they're gonna, there's no rebuttal. Without Coil, the puck doesn't want to show up. And this is a really nice play from the cut.
Yeah, absolutely no resistance there whatsoever. Aegis into the hands of Scourge. And now if you're the cut, this might be your sort of perfect window of opportunity to try and cut into this deficit. It's only 3k right now, so it is not exactly a death sentence, but with 2 lives up on the Ursa, they can afford to get maybe a bit more aggressive, as we see them still kind of hanging out towards this middle lane. Do they have any sort of smoke? Yes, Giant does have one. They're not going to be popping it just yet, so not immediately looking for that fight. They're going to let Scourge farm up a little bit more here first, as he starts working his way towards that not BKB, the Blink Dagger for himself.
And they want to just use Rock. They want to be able to use their ultimates aggressively. We saw a little bit of hesitation bottom, but they got Tingle.
Okay.
Just an easy sync up.
Alone in there for the Dream Coil. The Mortimer Kisses follow it up. We talked about that
Wage.
combo. Wage coming back in. He's upset. He wants the kills.
Perfect.
Nice play from Giant. In with the hook shot. Cogs, not perfect, but I think they're still going to be able to clean up at least one of these, as Tano will be taken down. Alone, though, was able to jump himself away. Wage had to take a 50-50 shot there. Guesses in the wrong direction. So Alone will be able to get himself out, but if you're the cut, get yourself a kill, but or for support, not exactly going to favor you. That one does go the way of EgoBoys.
When they're still just farming. Queen Tekka, he's got 110 last hits. He's really just occupied this top lane, similar to how Kara's occupied the bottom lane, and they really only want to get serious whenever they are pushing down those towers, but nuking out these waves, it feels like it's good enough right now for EgoBoys. There isn't too much really freaking them out. It's a nice attempt from Giant, but again, they're not really able to accomplish anything, and every moment sort of spent wasted like this is more time that Rises is able to farm, and already having two components of the Ags, that's when this game is going to start to get much, much harder.
About halfway to the Aghanim Scepter. Rises also holding on to the Van Brace here. Hasn't actually made the swap just yet, but you would assume he's not going to be holding on to that Ocean Heart for too much longer. There, okay, as I say it, he does swap it out. So, Van Brace is in his hands. His teammates, though, maneuvering their way into this top lane, but while they're doing that, there's a lot of focus over in the middle lane for the cut. They're trying to make something happen here, but as of right now, it's really just a push onto the tower. They're not going to be able to get any sort of immediate fight. Alone. What are you doing? Going to get hit up by Scourge. Not a whole lot of damage coming out just yet, though, as Alone will jump up, but Wage is there in with the Avalanche into the toss, and Alone gets himself picked off.
And with the Blink Dagger on Ursa, they are able to finally track down Alone. They saw that he cut the mid wave, and Tingle King, he's in a crazy spot, but...
Giant coming in with the hookshot. Pingu dropping down the Chaotic Offering. This is actually pretty big. Queen Tekka already dead, but Rises trying to fight his way through this, dishing out that right-click damage. Tingle will still end up going down, but by this point, his teammates are wrapping around the back line. They will be able to take down Tano. They want more. Trying to push it onto Kara as well. Can they catch up?
They're going to sync up on Rises.
They want the Medusa instead. They say, who cares about Kara? Okay, never mind. They care about Kara. They kill off the Treant Protector there, but that is still going to be 4 kills going their way. They don't get the Medusa. That would have been absolutely massive had they been able to pull it off, but that's still a 4-for-1 trade in their favor as the cut put together what was honestly their best team fight in about maybe 10 minutes or so, but Alone coming back in, looking for the revenge, dropping down the Dream Coil onto 2. They're going to be able to blow up Giant right away. Now the Ursa might be... No, not in some trouble at all, but they get down... They get down the arena into the spear onto Wage. The Tiny trapped up here. He's even taking some tower shots just for the little bit of extra damage, and he will go down. Alone picks up the double. And just when I said things were looking good for the cut with that solid team fight, they give quite a bit of that gold back with the loss of 2 on their own side.
And it's strange to say, right, that you had a 4-for-1 more or less, and it felt not the worst, but the cut, they're not able to translate any of their rotations into objectives. This mid T1 tower is still full HP. They still have these options available to them. This Mars is huge, while Alone is getting picked off. It's space for the Medusa. This is the most space I feel like I've seen generated in a while, and while he is getting caught here and there, sort of mentioned to it earlier, the Tiny is not farming. The Ursa is not farming whenever he's trying to make these plays happen, and without Rock now, it feels like they can't make any plays up until they have their abilities back to them, and this is just a compounded issue that EgoBoys are just exploiting at this point. As Rises, I mean, he has Ags now. Now these coils, these fights, they're going to be so much more controlled. It's really going to get a much more chaotic game.
Yeah, at this point, Rises with that net worth starting to get out of control. 11,500 for him. That is 2.5k above anyone else in this game. So if you're the cut, you have to try and do something. We do see them sort of smoking up, trying to push their way into the river, but no one is actually willing to take the plunge there. They would have needed to effectively jump onto their opponent's high ground to actually make that happen. As lagged out for just a moment. Sorry about that. Looks like we're good. But now EgoBoys looking to return fire. A smoke play themselves. Rises not included in this, but he is going to act as the trailer on this play. Coming up from behind, if his teammates do run into someone, he is going to have that delayed... Oh, that delayed initiation. His Scourge is going to get himself jumped in on Ursa in some trouble. Nice spear stun coming out. The follow-up stun in there with that cookie as well, and Scourge will be taken down. Giant falling as well, and at this point the cut are just going to have to fall back. But Pingu, he's not making it out of here. He is slowed up and taken down. The kisses even being thrown out towards the middle lane, but by that point, Wage has already gotten away. Tingle King, though, not going to be quite as fortunate. He will be locked down. Spear stun pins him to the tree, and the cut are just going to get almost completely wiped out here. 4 dead. Wage is able to get himself away, but Wage was really never involved in that fight in the first place.
And it's you hate to see it. It was 7, 6, 5 on the Rock coming out from Pingu. It just wasn't there in time, and these are key kills. These are kills that are going to lead to either more farm for the Medusa or objectives. As you see, Queen Tekka, he's able to hit a tier 2 tower right now. They've barely touched the mid T1. They've never dogpiled on top of it. They weren't able to make that Ursa blink timing really feel impactful. They kept on fighting around the Radiant Ancients, and they would just respawn and come kill you. And we're getting to a point now where the cores on EgoBoys, they're going to start ignoring you. They're going to start to win these trades. And as we see, Scourge has not been able to hit anyone once he got this Blink Dagger. It really hasn't felt like this is the same Ursa we saw earlier in the day. He's sort of getting pushed around and bullied.
Yeah, there's quite a difference between Scourge on this Ursa versus Tomato in the previous series, but if you're the cut, this Ursa is really your best bet. You gotta try and just find some way to get him back in, get him more involved, but that net worth is starting to get a little out of hand. They're down by 10,000 as a team right now. Experience-wise, a little over 10k behind as well. Win probability, 92%, but Wage, yeah, he is in some trouble up top. Gonna get hit up by the arena into the spear stun. Giant, okay, he hooks onto his teammate. That's not quite what he wanted, but it does get him into the fight, so they're gonna try and turn this one around. Queen Tekka in some trouble, trying to make his way through the tree line. Wage, though, blinks forward again. Goes for the avalanche into the toss. Still not able to bring anyone down, though, and now here comes Alone into the fight, connecting with the Dream Coil onto 2. The Overgrowth going to be deployed as well, but Pingu does eventually come in with the Chaotic Offering. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough. They do take down Alone, though, but they've lost 2 themselves. Both Scourge and Wage taken down, so it's 1 kill, but it's just not enough. They will lose 4 again on the side of the cut, and EgoBoys just keep on charging their way forward. The loss of Alone, not going to be much of a factor there.
And it just feels like at this point, they weren't able to farm and fight. They weren't able to take away any of the areas that EgoBoys ended up playing in. Kara, every single player on EgoBoys, it feels like they've been able to get their sort of moment in the sun, get a lot of this farm. And with Scotty coming out from Rises, I really don't know how this Ursa is ever going to find that backline. He was able to burn all of Alone's mana and kill him then and there, but aside from that, you can't be suiciding to kill a Puck at this point of the game. The Puck should be an afterthought at this point. Wade should just go in, kill them, walk out, but it feels like now they've gotten sort of scared into their shell, and they're going to have to play a much more defensive style of Dota versus the defensive king of Dota, the Medusa. It feels like the game's not over for sure. There's definitely going to be another Roche that's really going to spell out this game, but aside from that, they have to really avoid so many scenarios for the cut to win a team fight at this point.
And first things first, they've got to wait for Chaotic Offering to be back up. 85 seconds on the sideline. Pingu, I mean, it was worth trying, right? He throws it out in that last fight, and it does sort of help them get that kill onto Alone, but now without that team fight ult, they're just straight up not going to be able to do a whole lot. Is Alone poking his way forward, going for the Dream Coil now onto Scourge. Meanwhile, the Medusa pushing in onto Pingu, and that Warlock doesn't even get the chance to wait. He is going to be, oh man, he's going to be taken down, and that's the GG. The cut at this point, realizing they don't really have a whole lot left to fight with, as the game will be called. Scourge taken down one final time, as Alone will pad the stats just that little bit more. And EgoBoys take game 2, tying up the series with a 1-1 split.
21 to 15, 24-minute game, 14k gold lead. They really just got jerked around. And it was a little bit disconcerting whenever you saw that Wage wasn't able to really take the game in his own hands. He still got a 14-minute Blink Dagger. It's not a bad timing at all, but for a core, you just weren't able to punish and really run the snake into the ground. You weren't able to play that sort of fast-paced Dota. With that one Aegis, it really felt like they just wasted a little bit too much time, and they had one tower in all of that game, and it felt like even Tingle King wasn't able to make anything happen with his Viper, with his hero. Anytime he showed up, he was just falling. He tried to get a BKB. He had a BKB at the end of that game, but it must have just been a frustrating dispute because they just weren't able to play Dota. They weren't able to play Dota versus the Snake.
Yeah. Not a whole lot for them to really get done by the end of that one. Unfortunate for the cut, but well, it is still going to be a 1-1 draw. So at the end of the day, both teams walk away with some points here. That's got to count for something. So both EgoBoys and the cut will be able to put themselves on the board with their first wins of this group stage. But now we are going to be moving on once again. So congratulations to each of these squads. They do get that first win, but we are going to be moving now into an all South American matchup. We've got Corey taking on Infamous as our next best of 2. So we are going to be hopping into that one in just a little bit. Before we hop into that break, though, quick time for a bit of a shout out here for the sponsor of this event, LootBet, helping Beyond the Summit put this one together. So thank you very much to LootBet. And we got a message here. New users can get a 100% bonus on their first deposit up to 150 euros. Use code PRO, that's PRO, on loot.bet. And for those of you who have already been existing users, can also find more promotions and deals when they visit loot.bet. So, LootBet, thank you so much for helping us put this event together. Thank you all as well for sitting through the ad read. Please do remember to bet responsibly. And thank you all very much. We'll be back for the start of that next series in just a little bit.